How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about Mullen, which was down 2.90% on the day. We've seen that it saw a lot of volume on the previous trading day. So, of course, I want to make sure you guys are prepared for the rest of this week. I won't waste any more time. Let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you're a shareholder, you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing we're going to go over is the technical analysis. We're going to be taking a look at the overall price action. We want to know support. We want to know resistance. We want to know what it looks like in a bearish case scenario and as well as in a bullish case scenario. And then we're going to be going on Fintel, taking a look at the recent short interest information. The reason why this is important because it does have an impact on the way the stock performs. And then we're going to be taking a look at the order flow distribution. We want to know the buying and the selling behavior on the retail side and as well as on the institutional side. And then when all of that is done, we'll be going into the final thoughts and as well as some more details. So let's get to it. So we're going to do a technical analysis from Mullen. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $1.34, being down 2.90%. On the low, it tested $1.28, and then on the high, testing $1.37. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 51.952 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 102.705 million shares. So we had below average volume on the day, and it's part of the reasons why we've seen a slight pullback in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is a daily chart, you can see from the hour side down below, it's at 52.46. And then when we take a look at our moving averages here on the chart, we are below the 200-day, we're also below the 50-day, but we are staying above the 21-day EMA, and this is what you want to see. And from what we see from the price action, looks like it is just consolidating. It did form a lower low and as well as a lower high, so that's one thing you want to keep in mind. And as far as support where we tested, it was at $1.28. So going into tomorrow, you want to see this level continue to hold. If not, I want to look for support right at that 21-day EMA at $1.24. And if it decides to break through this level, you guys know what it looks like already. We know that $1.17 needs to hold, because if it breaks through that level, that's where we have a gap that needs to be filled to the downside around $1.03. But what we're seeing so far, the 50-day moving average might continue to be an area of resistance. Currently, it's at $1.61. So if we make a move to this level, we want bulls stepping in, buying this stock up, and see if we could push it up into the mid $1.70 range. And then, of course, $2 being a psychological area, and that's where you need a lot of buying pressure for the stock to move up further. But for the most part, as far as for Mullen is concerned, it's just consolidating. Now let's move on to the short interest information. So we're going to take a look at the recent short interest information from Mullen. So the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 53.55%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 37.44 million shares. Scrolling down on the page, the short shares availability is at 200,000, updated 3 minutes ago. And then for the short borrow fee rate, it is at 8.94%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the third, it was at 57.19. And then for the close of the sixth, being at 53.55. So we have a small decrease right there. And then when we take a look at the short interest percentage of the float, being at 11.62%. Again, it continues to creep up, but for Mullen, we need that buying volume to come into the play to have those strong moves in price action. Now let's move on to the order flow distribution. Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution for Mullen. So we see on the inflow, it's at 12.49 million, and then on the outflow, it's at 12.74 million. So we had an outflow day. Taking a look at the breakdown, on the large, it was 0.36 million. On the medium, it was 7.58 million, and then on the small, it was 4.55 million. Taking a look at the outflow side, you can see on the large, it was 1.62 million. On the medium, it was 7.54 million. And then on the small, it was 3.58 million. And then when we take a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, you can see for June the 7th, we had that outflow of negative 1.26 million. Analyzing the numbers even further for the small scale orders that tends to represent the retail side, you can see that we had more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at what happened on the medium, we had more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at the large represents whales, institutions, and funds, we had more selling than we had buying. And then when we take a look at the turnover ratio, it was at 16.03%. No surprises there. We know that Mullen is a volatile play. But considering that we had a lot less volume that we had on the previous trading day, I felt it held itself up fairly well. Now let's move on to the final thoughts and we'll go over some more details as well. So for my final thoughts for Mullen, when it comes to the price action, we ended up seeing a high at $1.37. And as far as the low is concerned, we saw it at $1.28. We also have the 21-day EMA that is at $1.24. So we're continuing to have price action above this level, and this is exactly what you want to see. And part of the reasons behind it, if we can get past $1.37, I would love to see Mullen making that move to the 50-day moving average, which is at $1.61. Reclaiming this level, we can look forward to a move up to see it trading in the mid $1.70 range. And we're also fully aware that $2 is a psychological area for this play as well. Now, as far as if you're going to be looking for weakness or when we start seeing, well, you know what, the trend is not looking too great, it would have to break through the 21-day EMA, and we know there's a gap that needs to be filled at $1.03. But first and foremost, it'd have to break through $1.17. But if Mullen is able to stay above $1.20, especially for the rest of this week, that's where I can see, you know what, this stock could really start picking up. So it's definitely going to be a test, especially since we do have CPI numbers that are going to be coming out on Friday. But for the most part, just looking at the Mullen chart, it just seems to be consolidating. Also, when we went on Fintel, taking a look at the recent short interest information, we could see there's many shorts who are vested in this play. But at the end of the day, and just like many other plays, we need that buying volume coming into the play. If you remember on the previous trading day, we had a lot of volume with that news in regards to them being added into the Russell. So we need to have a continuation of that kind of volume to push the price up further. If we continue to see a decline in the volume, of course, this is not going to be good for the stock. It could continue to pull back. And that's why I give you guys those levels to the downside. And if it's looking bullish, you know those levels in regards to the upside. And we also have to pay attention to the overall market conditions. It was fairly good today, I must say, but it's still going to be choppy. There's so many things that are going on, especially for next week where we have the Fed meeting and as well as for the quad witching. So the last thing that you need is to be caught unprepared. So know these levels. It is very crucial. And if you are thinking about taking an investment in this play, just make sure you're doing your research and you're doing your due diligence. I want to make sure I emphasize this in a lot of my videos because I know many of you are not traders. You're just looking to actually put some money into the company because you believe in the long-term prospects. But if you are going to do that, you have to make sure you do your homework. Please do that, because at the end of the day, when the stock does pull back, anyone who has high conviction and you're an investor, you're going to be loading up on the dip, and you need to be confident enough to do that. If you're not going to be confident enough to do that, then do not touch this play whatsoever. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to see how the stock performs going into tomorrow. We'll talk soon.